Welcome to Lab 10. We're going to look at the dynamic settings for switch ports. It's covered in the theory, and I just think it's important that you can drill down and change from dynamic desirable to dynamic auto and vice versa. Now, different models of switches have different default settings, as I found when I was working on some, I think, 3550 or 3560 switches. So just bear that in mind. We'll go through the commands and see as we go along anyway. So show interface, fast Ethernet 0/1 switch port. I think I've actually got a configuration on this from a previous lab. I think I hard set this to trunk, but you'll be coming across the same one as you do the labs, because you just go from one to another and you don't always reload and wipe the configuration that was originally on there. So interface fast Ethernet 0/1 switch port. I hit question marks so you can see all your options. Switch port mode. What are we looking for? Well, we're looking for some sort of dynamic mode. We're not doing a lab on access or trunk. Trunk is obviously hard setting it to trunk, and access hard setting it to access. Okay, dynamic space question mark. We've got two choices: dynamic auto or dynamic desirable. As you know, auto, it will not attempt to create a trunk, and desirable it will. Now I've got a conflict because it says here conflict between no negotiate and dynamic. So this was from an earlier lab I did. So I turned off the no negotiate with no switch port, no negotiate. Does that make sense? I turn the no negotiate back on with the no negotiate. Alright, so switch port mode dynamic auto, and you can see the interface has come up, but it will not be attempting to create a trunk. So it's dynamic auto. It's actually set to access at the moment. So this is what we're looking for, dynamic auto. That should be the default setting, I think, on the 2960. Go over to the other side now. Show interface fast Ethernet 0/1 space switch port. Alright, so this is set to dynamic auto, and obviously we're not going to have a trunk set up now because neither side is set to trunking and both sides are set to dynamic auto, which is not what we want for this lab. Show interface trunk. No interfaces are trunking. So interface fast Ethernet 0/1. Let's change our setting now. Switch port mode, dynamic, desirable. You can use the question mark as you go along. So you can see the trunk has come up. I should issue a show trunk interface, so show interface fast Ethernet 0/1. Switch port, and we can see it's dynamic desirable and it's set to trunk. Now it's come up as a trunk. I just want to do a show interface trunk, and you can see this has become a trunk. So that's the end of the lab. Thanks for watching.